FPL Game Week 38, my team selection. It is the final week of the FPL season. We are looking to take 1 week punt to make up the final bit of ground we're trying to get to, claw back that final bit of overall rank in the final week of the season. I have just one free transfer to use this week and almost 2 million in the bank. A few players that I'm potentially going to be bringing in this week that you might be considering as well. So let's dive in and have a look at the very final Game Week 38 team selection. What is up, everyone? FPL Harry here. Before we dive in, 1,000 likes is the aim. Subscribe if you are new around here. And congratulations, everyone. We are here. You have made it all the way to Game Week 38, the final team selection of the season. Thank you very much for joining me across the whole season, whether you've joined recently, whether you've been a long-time subscriber. Welcome to the channel. Thank you very much. And I hope you've had a good enough season. Hope it finishes well for you. But if it doesn't, we'll be back again in August to do it all over again. Quick review of how double Game Week 37 went for me. Got 143 points, which was 9 above the safety score. Good week for me, giving me a Game Week rank of 146k, which was actually my second best Game Week rank of the entire season. I haven't smashed any single particular Game Week very much, but hopefully a steady season can get me a good rank once again. 2,542 points overall, giving me a new rank of 2.2k, up from 3.5k in Game Week 36. So a very, very good game week for me. Very happy with how the season is ending. Points across the board. I did decide to bring in Gavardio as one of my 2 transfers this week. I also sold Edison, who looks like he's now out for the remainder of the season as well. Vicario, Petrovic, not returning much in goal. Pedro Porro, Gabriel, and Ben White, returns across all of my defense, apart from Dan Burn, which feels good to get some defender returns. Into midfield, Son has been a big disappointment recently, my lowest scorer there, along with Isaac, who also blanked twice. Fernandez did pitch up for the second game, getting an assist and 5 points. Gordon scored away from home. His away form this season has not been great, but he did get a goal. Foden, Palmer, Jackson, Captain Haaland, 143 points. Just 1 week left. Let me know in the comments how you got on in a Game Week 37. Green arrow, red arrow, and what do you need to make up going into the final day? Are you chasing rank? Are you holding rank? What is the aim? Are you looking at a mini league rival thinking, can I catch them, or are they going to catch me? Let me know what you're playing for in the final week of the season and have a look at what transfers I'm making. Maybe you can do something similar. So nothing too exciting from me. I have a choice of 3 transfers going into Game Week 38. It involves a midfielder. It involves selling either Fernandez or Gordon. I have 1 free transfer and I have 1.6 million in the bank. If I wanted to buy Bukayo Saka this week, I would have to sell Bruno Fernandes, but Bruno Fernandes does continue to look really good whenever he plays for Manchester United. Only 1 assist for him in Game Week 37, but he was definitely involved in everything that Man United were doing. I don't particularly think Saka is a better asset than Havertz as a 1 week punt. You're basically hoping that Saka gets a penalty. If there is no penalty in that game, if I told you there was no penalty in that game, there's not much to pick between them. Now, of course, Saka could get a penalty, and that would make him a better pick for the final day. He's also been yellow flagged. He's also carrying a little bit of a knock. So whether that plays into his form a little bit, we might have to wait and see on that one. So I don't think I'll be selling Fernandes because I think Fernandes is a better pick than Gordon. And I don't think Saka is a better pick than Havertz. But if I wanted to go Saka, I'd have to sell Bruno to do it. Now, I was then pretty set on going Gordon to Havertz, and I would say I'm about 75% chance that this will be my transfer this week. The only other move that I could potentially do is bring in a Crystal Palace midfielder in Elise. Elise will be a true differential on the final day. Havertz will be one of those that looks like a differential going into Game Week 38, but actually will be mass transferred in and will end up being a little bit of a highly owned pick and not a differential in Game Week 38 because of how many transfers people use on him. Elise has been on great form, 100 FPL points in his last 10 starts, averaging 10 points per start. Aston Villa, of course, qualified for the Champions League, absolutely nothing to play for on the final day as well. So I do think Villa could, be a little bit tired, a little bit unengaged in that final game. Elise and Crystal Palace at home on the final day. Whether he's just playing well for Crystal Palace, whether he's playing to see where he can get a move to next season, we'll have to wait and see how the transfer window goes for him. But I think he could be a really nice punt. I don't massively need to chase rank. I hope to finish inside the top 2K and just get a green arrow on the final day is basically all I hope for. And I just need to look at it as who do I think gets more points on the final day as Havertz and Elise. I don't particularly need to go completely maverick with my team this week. I'm about 18 points outside the top 1K. So that is completely, unrealistic for me to go and turn that around in one game week. So yeah, it's basically Havertz versus Elise as my Gordon replacement. Think I'm about 70% chance that it'll be Havertz and about a 30% chance that it'll be Elise. So for one final time, let's have a look at my lineup for game week 38. In goal, we're going to go with Petrovic at home to Bournemouth rather than playing Vicario away at Sheffield United. Chelsea are the third highest potential clean sheet odds going into this week. And Vicario away, they're not keeping many clean sheets at the moment. And I do think Sheffield United will want to score at home in their final game in the Premier League. We are also benching Pedro Porro away at Sheffield United. Now, him getting into my defence is a little bit closer because he has some of that attacking threat. But I can't bench Gvardiol. There's no way I bench him at the moment at home to West Ham and how far forward he's playing and with good clean sheet odds as well. Ben White and Gabriel also feel very difficult to drop given that Arsenal have a 50% chance of keeping a clean sheet in game week 38. I could potentially bench one of them for Porro and go one Chelsea, one Man City, one Arsenal, one Spurs in my sort of defence and goalkeeper on the final day. But I'm just not sure that Porro is a better pick than Gabriel. He might be a more exciting pick. He might be more attacking. He might be more explosive, but I don't think he's a better pick. That's about the only thing I look in the defence that I could potentially change. Pretty certain I'll start with Ben White because he feels the most attacking of those Arsenal defenders at the moment, but you can't rule out a bit of a corner goal for Gabriel. But given how good Everton are defensively and particularly their aerial dominance as well, maybe the corner goals are going to be less likely. So Ben White would definitely play. It's just Porro versus Gabriel, and I think I'm just going to favour the double Arsenal defence and go with Gabriel. Into my midfield, Phil Foden at home to West Ham. City, of course, closing in on the title. He's up there for Player of the Year. He's had a fantastic season. Of course, he's in there. Son has been a real disappointment. I posted on Twitter about what I think his price might be for next season, and I think it's really difficult. I think they underpriced a lot of the key assets in FPL this season, but I don't think he's done enough to be the price he was at 10 million. He is now the same again next year. So I'll be interested to see what Son does, but Spurs love a lot of goals on the final day. They're away at a Sheffield United team who are shipping goals. We all know that. Cole Palmer in there at home to Bournemouth. What a season he's had. We will not get him as cheap as 6.5 at what he is now, or even the 5 million that he started the season at last season. So let's enjoy his points for the final time at such a cheap price. Kai Havertz is the predicted transfer into my team over going with Elise. Home to Everton. Yes, Everton have looked great, but particularly they've been better at home. Havertz at home. He has been very consistent in terms of returns, and Everton don't have loads to play for now, which means I leave Bruno Fernandes as my first sub in case something crazy happens, an injury in warm-ups, an injury news going into the deadline or something like that. I have Bruno Fernandes to sub in away at Brighton, which I don't mind playing if disaster did strike and rotation did hit going into game week 38. Up front, Jackson is in there at home to Bournemouth. Let's hope Chelsea get a win. As a Chelsea fan, we need just 1 point to secure 6th place and potential Europa League football. Of course, if Man United win the FA Cup, it will only be Conference League, but 1 point needed to get European football at a minimum of Conference League. Isaac away at Brentford has not been great, and I do think if you're looking as a differential, trying back against a Newcastle attacker is something you could do. There is part of me that wonders about playing Bruno Fernandes over Isak going into game week 38, but I do think that Isak is probably slightly better. Let's see what happens to injury updates on Gordon and Wilson going into the deadline, though, because if both of them are out, then maybe Isak does drop in my estimations a little bit. So Haaland is the final one at home to West Ham. Haaland is also most certainly going to be my captain. Erling Haaland's highest XG of the season so far was against West Ham in the reverse fixture away. So I am expecting points. I am expecting goals. I am expecting City to win this game and win the league, and Haaland to win the Golden Boot as a result. Palmer vice captain. So it really revolves around 3 decisions. Havertz or Elise. I'm pretty certain it'll be Havertz unless we hear that he doesn't start. Then it's, do I start Porro or Gabriel? Again, I'm pretty certain it's going to be Gabriel unless something happens going into the deadline. Then the final thing is Bruno Fernandes or Isak. I was pretty confident it was going to be Isak until we saw that Manchester United versus Newcastle game midweek, which made me start to wonder about Newcastle falling off a little bit. And Fernandes and Manchester United looked pretty good in that game. So could I go Fernandes? I think the decent chances, I just go Havertz, I start Gabriel, and I start Isak. That's where I am at the moment. I think there's a good 60, 70% chance that's just how it falls at the deadline. But we'll have to see what happens in the press conferences, fitness updates to a few of the players that we've got here. And always in game week 38, we get so much news going into the deadline, team news, injury news, things like that. So there was no need to chase price rises, no need to chase team value unless you cannot do your transfers if there's a price change. Definitely wait until the game week 38 deadline. Tune into the deadline streams if you want to try and get that early bit of news. Is Foden starting? Is Palmer starting? Is there rotation for Newcastle? What's going to happen with all the lineups? I don't expect mass rotation going into this season, this game week 38, unlike last year, because there's a lot more to play for on the final day than we've seen in previous years. But it's a pretty simple one. We've got one free transfer. It's likely to be Anthony Gordon out to Kai Havertz is my plan. Haaland captain. It is game week 38. Thank you all so much for your support on this video, your support recently, your support this season. Honestly, what this channel has achieved this season since I started it is beyond my wildest dreams. Said thank you when I managed to quit my full-time job earlier this season. I said thank you when we hit 100k, and I cannot say thank you enough times. Massive appreciation to every single one of you who's tuned in once, liked once, left a comment, subscribed for years. Every single one of you, thank you so much. I hope game week 38 goes as well as it can for every single one of you. We will be back tomorrow with a final decisions video, then the final deadline stream on Sunday before these complete Sunday matches all at the same time. And then that will be it. We'll be done for another season, and we'll be back again, of course, in July and August to do it all over again. Thank you all so much for watching. Thank you so much for your support. 1,000 likes is the aim. Drop any questions you have about your final transfers going into game week 38 as well in the comment section down below. Subscribe if you are new around here, and I'll be back again very soon.